Are you always coming up with ideas? Do you marvel at successful business owners? Do you hate being told what to do? Ever take things apart just to see how they work? Are you a dreamer? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Pro Tapes and Specialties is the world leader in tape manufacturing and specialty conversion with over 40 years of experience. In addition to our pro brand of high-quality specialty adhesive tapes, we provide contract converting services that help improve your profitability, streamline your supply chain, and reduce inventory cost. We offer the most complete range of converting capabilities in the industry, such as cloth tape, double-coated tape, specialty tape, paper tape, masking tape,
vinyl tape, carton sealing tape, adhesive transfer tape, duct tape, foam tape, electrical tape, filament tape, foil tape, reflective tape.
And the tape just keeps on rolling. Visit us online today at www.protapes.com or call us at 800-345-0234. Pro Tapes, it's just how we roll.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Entrepreneurial Enclave, Life's Coming Attraction. I am your host, Kevin Wortham. Listen. When I tell you that this brother is busy, but I'm so glad my dear friend from our childhood gets a chance to be on this platform. Orrin, talk to me, brother. How are you, sir?
I am great. This is an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for being patient.
Yes.
With me.
This has been probably a year in the making.
If I would say more than that, but yeah,
wow.
let's go with that.
Yeah. So let's get started. Well, first of all, you come from a rich family musically, and how else do I say it? Musically,
definitely. Well, yeah. I was all the art. Basically,
all the art, yes, artistic family, yes. Your brother, your sister, your father. Wow.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So how do we get started, man? How did you get started?
Honestly, it's one of those. I'm still struggling with this quote I read the other day. I read this quote, and the quote said, "You don't leave a legacy with someone.
Yes,
you leave a legacy in someone."
Wow.
I'm still struggling with that, but I'm trying to understand it to how it suits me.
Yes,
but I do agree that my parents and the way that they, led us.
Yes.
That we had no choice.
Yes. Because
it was in, whether my mother as a singer and my father from theater and education and my mother in education, like it was in us. It was put in us, and all of us were going to do something concerning that, But one of the best things that happened to me, although I am born and raised and still go to Trenton quite often. I almost went there today for a fish hook. but basically moving to Philly was the thing that kind of changed my life because I discovered music. Not that it wasn't here already in my life, but much like you were there, I was riding bikes and playing basketball.
Yeah.
That was going to be what I was going to do, which was fine. But moving to Philly, into a different type neighborhood with not a lot of kids, I started playing the piano more.
Well, let me stop you for a second, if I may. So, my first recall with you was hanging out with your brother Todd.
Yep.
I believe you guys were the first families, at least on the west side, to have cable.
Oh man, you know what? What's hilarious about that is I tell my wife that all the time, and I very few people would remember that.
Yeah, we would be at your brother's house watching cable because up until that point, man, usually by 11 or 12:30, TV was going off. But
exactly.
But when cable came, it was 24 hours. I think I got in trouble many a nights telling my folks, I'm at Todd's house. Well, what are you doing at Todd's house at 2 o'clock in the morning? We're watching TV. Well, that was unheard of at that time, right?
Exactly.
And the other thing I remember was your father was this fantastic educator and playwright, and he was doing a lot of plays at that time at the College of New Jersey.
Correct. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
And so when did you move to Philly to start this love of music?
87.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
we're around there.
But prior to that, were you taking lessons in music? Did you know that was going to be a new journey for you?
All of us outside of Todd was, when I say all of us, both of us, my sister and I both had to take music lessons.
Yes.
I took piano in Philly, actually right on Spring Street.
Yes.
And then my sister was going to the piano conservatory around the corner from the train station.
Yes.
And Todd was responsible for taking us there. I mean, there was no denying that sports was going to be the direction for Todd at that time. I mean, as time went on, then it ended up being the theater also.
Yes.
But so for us, I always had that, just a piano in the house and that desire to go take piano lessons. But I didn't have a love for it until I, got somewhere else and really embraced it.
So to give a shout out to your brother, I think your brother was just in town. He had a play at Pastor's Theater this past weekend, right?
Yeah, they sponsored. They did it at the library. It was
at
on
the library,
Saturday, yeah.
And then 2 weeks ago, you were here at the Candlelight.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So now, when does Orrin blow up to be like this international rock star, man? When do you blow up, right? When do people start to recognize you as being a jazz great?
I mean, I'm waiting on that moment still. But what I am, what I do appreciate and what I may just try to say in a different way is, when did I realize that the performing arts could feed my family?
Yes. Okay.
And that part came very early on, probably by the time I graduated high school, when I decided that this is what I was going to do. And I was actually listening to some of your other podcasts yesterday.
Yes.
And went down a rabbit hole. Man, there's some great stuff. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm going to check some of these out. Next thing I know, I'm like, man, what happened to my day?
Yeah.
Check that. But I enjoyed it because.
Brother. Thank you.
Oh, no problem. But I realized that everybody's journey is different, whether it's you want to be a caterer or an event planner, a musician, or whatever it is. Once you decide that you are giving up on that possibility of a 401k and health insurance and different things, it's a new world. It's a new world, and it's great that you have this podcast because it gives you, the entrepreneur, myself, to find some other people, to find some other misfits and what I call I definitely do, or the land of misfit toys.
Yes.
Is where we all go. And because people really don't, I don't understand it sometimes. I'm like, man, and so to look back at it and to see that support system of things like your podcast, that's when it gets to the point that it doesn't matter how big you become or whatever. It's just, for me, I've been able to sustain. I've raised 2 sons, one 29 and one, raising, because you never end, 29 and one 24.
Wow.
And watching them do what they do, that's the biggest, that's the biggest accomplishment for me. Grammys and nominations and all those other things aside, I was given the responsibility to take care of a family.
Yes.
And I've been able to do it still being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And that to me is the ultimate goal.
Well, that may harken back to your original thought, your quote about the legacy, leaving the legacy inside, right? The legacy is inside of your sons now, right?
That is true. That is true.
So however they choose to move forward, your legacy will be in them already. But
exactly.
But Orrin, what I'm saying to you is, when you did your first professional gig, how did you move the team? How did you gather a team? That kind of part, right?
Right.
How did you begin to move up the the scale of being as large as you are now? Because I follow you on Facebook, man, and sometimes I get tired of finding out where you are. Because one weekend you're in my second home, Pittsburgh. The next thing I know you're out in Seattle, Washington, or you're going across the country or across the pond. I'm like, so when did that part, like the international travel, and when did you begin to put together your first group and you say to yourself, I got something here? When did that part really strike fire for you?
Well, first of all, the cat calling the pot calling the kettle black, because honestly, every time I'm on Facebook, I'm like, hey, Kevin knows her, Kevin knows him, and I forgot about the Pittsburgh connection. I'm like,
yeah.
And I've been telling my wife for years. I was like, man, I go way back, you know, Notre Dame, but so you got the same thing. But for me in my career, I would probably say, once I moved to Philly, and then in my later years of high school, and I was really into the music. I went to this music school in Philly called Gerard Academic Music Program.
Yes.
And from that, and I started playing in different churches and playing in different venues. And then my uncle, when we moved to Philly, it got me closer to that side of the family, my mother's side, both sides actually. But most of them were all artists in some kind of way.
Okay. So
my uncle Ben actually gave me my first contract. He said, here, this is what you want to use to book gigs. And I was maybe 16 or 17. So I still, to be honest, I still use that contract.
If it's working, don't stop, right? If it's working, don't stop.
You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Now,
I put that. Oh, good.
Yeah, let me stop you. So while you're in this process of just trying to find your way, did you have a mentor, and how important was a mentor for you at that time?
I had mentors.
Okay, got you.
And I mean, the main one was my father, although he wasn't totally self-employed playwright, but that was a huge part of who he was.
Yes.
I mean, he always had Trenton State working there.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he was touring. So he was one of the first ones, you know, I saw work with different contracts, work with different venues, and he gave me some advice on how to do those things.
Yes.
Also, with my mother being an opera singer, she helped me. So there was a lot of information right there in my family. I didn't have to go too far as mentors about the business.
Yes.
And then after that, when I moved to New York, there was just I call it a salad bowl. I'm not a big fan of the melting pot term.
Yeah.
But it was a salad bowl of people who helped me and said, hey, you want to check this out? Like Bobby Watson, Ralph Peterson, and then here in Philadelphia, Trudy Pitts. So I was blessed. There were so many people around me that were already in the business. And with that, in closing with that part of it, it was great for me because everybody was different. You know, how my father might have run his business was different than, you know, how Trudy Pitts or vice versa. So I got a second to realize, okay, this person puts this in this contract. Yes. This person doesn't put this in this contract. This person requires you to talk to the agent. This person doesn't. How do you work all of that out to make it work for you?
Gotcha.
So it was a combination of just working with all those different people.
Gotcha. Now, once you got your first contract, how did you assemble the rest of your team, the rest of the band? You
know what? Over the years, that's been a thing I've been doing over the years. But the first initial ones, and ironically, the first initial band that I put together, we're playing together next week, and we do it like maybe around Christmas time every year. We didn't do it last year because COVID, but it was a drummer by the name of Ari Honig and a bass player Kevin Arthur. We all met in the 9th or 10th grade.
Wow.
And our parents helped us so much as far as producing concerts, attending concerts. So that was the first team, for lack of better words, that we put together.
Yes.
And then maybe, 4 years after that, 5 years after that, I met my wife.
Okay.
And, you know, she helped me early on put flyers together, learn how to talk to some of the booking agents. And so we became the team, you know, and we were that for 20 years. And then after that, I got another manager and booking agent just in the last maybe 4 or 5 years.
Wow. But up until that point, your wife was handling all of that for you.
Yep, we were doing all that. Yep.
Wow. So now, when you're traveling overseas, and I'm going to ask a personal question, when you're traveling overseas, what are some of the things that you put in your rider that helps make the trip go easier or smoother for you?
I mean, honestly, that's one of the hardest things to figure out.
Okay.
Because no matter what, you can't depend on that rider to be intact.
Got you.
And if it is or it isn't, you got to be willing to walk away from the gig.
Okay.
So what I've had to learn how to do, being on the road, is to be as clear as possible, which is just the light snacks and things backstage, and know that we're going to go to dinner.
Yes.
And then also filling in, and I'm still learning this myself, filling in the dead time. The dead time is what gets you.
Okay.
As a musician on the road, you get to the venue maybe 4 p.m. and your concert's not till 9. You're like, what am I? Rehearsals maybe an hour or two.
Yes.
Then you got some time to kill, and the next thing you know, it's like, well, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And so, really nowadays, the beauty of your phone, you just put on an episode or something and let that time go by.
Yes, sir.
But back then, early on, that was when I did most of my reading, and I learned so much during that time, listening to audio books and reading. So what was more important than the rider, as far as what was backstage, was just making sure it was a comfortable environment backstage.
Okay.
And comfortable travel situations. Travel situations are the biggest thing, because there's nothing you can do about it. You land in some foreign country, and they pick you up in this little car, and then they tell you it's an 8-hour drive. There ain't nothing to do about it. You know?
Got you. But my next question is, so, and I'm probably going to mess this whole question up. Who did you, I guess when you were first beginning to play, who did you emulate? Who did you follow? Who were some of the greats that you looked up to?
I mean, with Philadelphia, there were so many.
Okay.
But Trudy Pitts was a great mentor. Eddie Green, Sid Simmons, Sam Dockery. These are all, I hate to use the term Philly great to diminish their touch on the world, because they were world renowned, but
yes.
they made their home in Philly. And I'm thankful for that, because they were right there when I needed them.
Yes.
And as far as touring musicians, because that's different. Those are the musicians right here. But as far as the touring, there was nowhere I could get any information on that, because my mother didn't really tour. My father wasn't a touring musician, just a playwright. So artists like Bobby Watson was one of the first artists I toured with. Yes. And I learned a lot just about how to set up tours, talk to promoters, simple things like I would finish the gig, and I was maybe 20, 21. I'd say, all right, man, good night. And I remember one time he said to me, he said, man, these people pay for you, not only for us to do the gig, they pay to eat with us and to socialize with us. Yes. So you got to come to dinner sometimes. And yes. I'm like, so little things like that. Because I was the youngest one. I'm like, ain't nobody talking about nothing I want to talk about. Yeah. But they did. They just wanted to say I had dinner with you. So it was really a lot that I learned from people like him, Roy Hargrove, who I played with early on too. I learned different things from being on the road with him. But a lot of that, Nasheed Waits, Hamia Blewett, early people I toured with in New York that would help you as far as knowing the touring landscape. Who's going to take care of travel? Who's going to get you on this train? Yes. Who's going to get you on this plane? All of that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Now, when you come back home to Trenton and you're doing the Candlelight, what does that feel like for you?
That's like being on Oak Lane.
Okay.
With all the people from Oak Lane. Yes, it feels like it is. And every once in a while, you never know who's going to pop out. It'll be somebody from Oak Lane. But for me, that's what the music needs. It's neighborhood. It's close, and we don't really have that. When I say we, I mean all over the world. There's not that many places like the Candlelight. Yes. Where you could go in and feel like home. Everybody's going to say hi. They're going to say your name. Another. Laura, the bass player, who actually says, was it from church? Laura, the young bass player.
So that was my third question, because here's what happened. when I had made a time allotment to interview her mother, Dr. Trinice Robinson Martin, right?
Yep.
I said, man, I would love to put you in touch with my friend Orrin. And she said, I would love to meet him. And so here we come full circle again. I had the mother and daughter on the podcast. And now you're telling me you played with her daughter. She was your bass player?
Well, I went to Princeton University, and she was filling in as a high school student.
Yes.
Filling in with the band. And when I walked over to her, she said, "Oh, you know, Kevin Wortham." I said, "Man, who does he not know?" So, you know, I mean, like last week she came, or 2 weeks ago, she came through Candlelight and played. And that's like my daughter, you know. I really appreciate her.
And her career, man, through the pandemic, she is blossoming like nobody's business. But I tell you what, though, the next concert that you guys try to put together, I would love for you and her mother to do something. I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere.
Oh, I'd love to.
I would love for you and her mother to do something together, man. And I may just get my little podcasting equipment and give the audience like a little sneak peek taping. You know, like a 5.
There you go.
Right, come on. Now my second question is, I fell off my chair when you were in my second home of Pittsburgh. I'm like, what? How did that come about, bro? How did that come about?
Well, that was another one. I think it was Janice Burley's post, and you commented on there. I said, man, he knows everybody.
Well, you know, we went to school together at Pitt, and she was we had a class together, and we stayed connected since that time. And so when I told her that I was trying to interview you, I said, Janice, you know you're next, and we have never gotten that. We've never gotten that interview. But Janet, I'm talking to Orrin now, so you are next. I'm going to call you after this interview and get you on the show.
There you go.
Yeah, but,
well, my wife is from Pittsburgh. So
which part of Pittsburgh?
Yeah, she her mother's from the north side.
Yes.
And then her father's family was from, what's that part of the family? Where your father's family from? Okay, Beachview.
Yeah.
And then she grew up in South Park.
Okay, so when you used to go back to Pittsburgh, say 5-6 years ago, did you ever go back to the O hot dog stand?
Come on, man.
All right.
Dirty O's. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and then in addition to that, one, we got married in Pittsburgh.
Okay. Congratulations. Yes.
And then in addition to that, my goddaughter, her mother lived on Morningside for years. Wow. And we would she went to my God's sister works at Pitt.
Yes.
So we would go back. I mean, we still go. We were just there not too long ago. We make that commute all the time. So Pittsburgh is my second home, and Seattle's my third. So you naming them all. Well, with Trenton, I gotta put Trenton up there second. So let me do that.
Well, Trenton is your first home, bro. You know that's your.
I know.
That's your first home, man. So you right? Oh my God. So now, My question is, right, what advice would you give someone who's just starting to feel themselves or get into the music industry in terms of just jazz, right? Because this is real music, right? Okay, you know what?
Yep.
Hold that question. What do you think about the music today? Not just jazz, but just the music in general.
To be honest, this is going to sound like a cop-out, but I'm going to say it like this. You like it, I love it.
Okay.
And that might not mean that I'm going to go buy it. That might not mean that I'm going to check it out. But I'd much rather hear about some young artists putting out some sad music than some other stuff.
Understood.
So I appreciate anyone's effort to get into this scene. Yeah. I do wish we had more music programs on the lower and middle school and high school level to make sure that music is being taught, the actual act of making music, not making beats and using electronic instruments, which is something too. Yes. But I think in addition, it would be great. And that's something that we've been fighting for the last 20 years, to get back into schools and make these, not just music programs, entire art programs.
Yes.
Just coming back into schools. So I really, at this point, I'm happy to see what everyone's doing. I think there needs to be some better stuff coming out just to not confuse the audience.
Yes.
But at the same time, and answering the other part of your question, we have to just keep going, and we go for no. So like my whole thing that I would say to any young student or anybody trying to get into this business or trying to be anything that you're trying to do, but specifically music for right now, is go for no.
Gotcha.
You know, you go when you ask that promoter and they say no, they're not going to give you a gig. Go back again.
Yes.
You know, no, and keep going. And then you'll start to realize where your voice lies. And sometimes you'll say, oh, you know what? That promoter was right not to call me because I don't belong on that stage. I belong on this stage.
Gotcha.
You know?
Yes.
But don't let the nose, don't let the eyebrows, don't let the, you know, a friend of mine said, man, every time I'm around this guy, it seems like he vibes me.
Yes.
And I responded, I said, man, the only way you can be vibed is if you allow yourself to be vibed.
Yes.
Otherwise, the person's just acting weird. Like, you know what I mean? You don't even have to say that he's vibing or she's vibing me because that's going to happen. I'm not going to be everybody's favorite piano player. That's a fact. So somebody's not going to like me.
Yes.
And that's cool. You know what I mean? I'll go on to the next venue, you know? And then one day, that person who doesn't like you, at least in the last 25 years of me doing this, they always end up calling you. Because eventually they need you because other people are saying, hey, why don't you have Orrin Evans on your on your schedule? Or why don't you do this? You know, just keep doing what you do and be true to yourself.
Yes. Now, how do you go about finding time to put together an album? How do you create that in your mindset?
It's become something that I try to do no matter what. It's probably every 1 or 2 years.
Okay.
So I just finished one last week, and I'm already thinking about what the next one is. Okay. You know, and that one isn't even out yet. It just becomes something that I do naturally. You know, you're like, oh, okay, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, and it's doing a record is a part of that process. But
I mean, Orrin, the mindset is when you sit down to kind of write this out. Do you have your main boys that's going to play with you? But how do you get like some of the guest artists to be on the album as well? How do you do that part?
You know, when I was the best way to say it, when I first started drinking, I was managing. I was trying to find a way to say it. There was no other way, but I was managing this club in Philly called the Blue Moon Jazz Cafe when I was at Rutgers University.
Yes,
and I was new to going over to the bar to ask for a drink, and I would get a beer, blah, blah, blah. One day the bartender was like, man, you'll like this. And he gave me a kamikaze. Yes. He said, because you act like a kamikaze pilot. Yes. And he said the way you approach the bandstand and the way you've approached your career.
Yes.
And so I approached doing a record the same way. That might not make sense, but I'll give you a quick example.
Yes.
I went in to do my record last week. We did it on Monday.
Yes.
On Sunday, I had a plan. Monday morning, I was calling 2 other vocalists that I had never played with or recorded with and was saying, hey, can you come do this record? and then I'll put, my wife will buy some food. And so for me, putting together a record is no different than waking up on Sunday and saying, hey, you know what? I feel like cooking out. I'm going to call some friends.
Gotcha.
And that's what's always made the process of making a record less nerve-wracking for me.
Okay.
So it's just another opportunity. I mean, and I don't mean that as if the record isn't serious or that there isn't serious things happening.
Yes.
But it's more about the camaraderie in the village and being together with people, and then the beauty that comes out of that.
Understood. I love it. So it's pure music, right? It's pure love.
There it is.
Got you. So now, how do you go about thinking about overcoming some of the challenges? How did you go about overcoming some of the challenges that you had in this career, this long story career that you have? What were some of the challenges? How did you overcome?
You know what though? The funny thing is the challenges change every year, so you have to be ready to just move with the wind. those things that are outside of when you got a new car dealership or whatever, those things that flow and they look real goofy.
Yeah.
And then that's how I look at this. I'm just in the wind blowing with it, because the music business changes so much. The internet didn't exist when I started this.
Yes. That's
a whole nother thing. Social media didn't exist when I started this.
Yes.
When I first started, no one, there was no, I could have, honestly, this is some true stuff. I could have not paid my taxes for the first 10 years of my career.
Wow.
Which is what happens to a lot of artists, because, and the reason I say that is because 90% of my gigs were paid in cash.
Yes.
So all of that changed. You used to go to Europe, come home, none of that was reported.
Wow.
Now they're doing wire transfers.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Everything changes, and I guess the best way to deal with it is just be amenable, and just like you cannot be the old guy saying, back in my day they didn't have Facebook.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. They didn't. You're right.
Yes.
At one point they didn't have cars and people walked.
Yeah.
But you gotta be able to change with the time, and you can tell the artists that are willing to do it, and maybe they don't do it. Maybe they have a team of people that do it.
Gotcha.
But there's no way that you can ignore all of this.
Yes.
And that's the key thing. Just being ready to go with the wind wherever the wind blows. And I guess that's not even specific to being a musician. That's anything that you're an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Everything has changed. Catering has changed. Now you can put an order form online if you're a caterer. So much has changed.
Yes.
And you just have to be ready to go with the flow.
Now, what has been your biggest regret?
The one that I don't have one.
Okay.
I will say there's things in my personal life I wish I could go back and, reverse and say, all right, I want to change that.
Yes.
Just personal things that I shouldn't have done and couldn't, that I have to live with.
Yes.
But as far as my career and that part of my life, and I can't have any regrets, because then that would change every other part of it. Because I could be the one to say, oh, well, I left Rutgers University and I didn't get my degree before I left, but I left to go on the road, and now I'm teaching at Rutgers University 30 years later.
Yes.
So I can't say that. And if I hadn't left Rutgers University, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't have had the family I had.
Yeah, gotcha.
So it's none of it, everything, although this might have been a different path to take,
yes,
I can't say I regret it, because so many wonderful and beautiful things happened along the way.
Understood. I love how you put that. Thank you. Wow. Okay.
No problem.
So now, where are we 5 years from now, Orrin?
5 years from now, I am in my, they call it, even though I'm very close to it now, because I'm in my forever home.
Okay.
and I thought I was, but then when my kids got older, we sold our first house to my youngest, and then the house we're in now, I want to sell to my oldest.
Yes.
And so it was funny. I even said that number to him the other day. I said, 5 years from now, you'll be in here. I'll be sitting on my back porch. I want my, that kind of, I want that scene to sing. I'm, growing up in Philly, everything is connected. I live in a row home.
Yeah.
I want to be not connected to nothing. To be honest, I would love to own 32 Oak Lane. Not saying I want to live back there, but I do want that house back.
Understood.
Just as a part of my legacy.
Yes.
And musically, it's wherever the music takes me.
Understood.
What's more important to me is where I am as a husband and a father.
Okay.
The music ain't going nowhere.
Understood.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I don't have to work as hard with that, but working, it's a lot harder to maintain a healthy family than it is to play some music for me.
Yeah. No, I got that.
So that's really my goal. And when I get on the bandstand, that's the cherry on the top, and that's the blessing.
Yeah. Now, listen, with the time that we have left, a few more questions. When you're on the road, and you have your rider, right? What type
Mm-hmm.
of piano do you request, and what type of keyboard do you request?
Well, for years, I wasn't endorsed by any. Well, I was for a second. Any specific company.
Yes.
But in the last few years, I'm now with Yamaha,
Okay.
and so Yamaha pianos are on my rider, and not many keyboards, because a lot of what I've done in the last 7-8 years has been acoustic.
Okay.
But if I did anything, it would be Yamaha.
Okay.
Any keyboards, and it's really just about the instrument being tuned and properly cared for,
Okay.
which is more important sometimes than the brand, because you can show up and have a Steinway that hasn't been tuned,
Gotcha.
and
Yes.
so it's more about the maintenance of the instrument.
Yes.
And the food. The food is the other big part of my rider. The maintenance, and I want to eat.
Got to. Does it any particular style of food you enjoy?
Oh no,
Okay.
I'm a foodie. I love cooking and I love eating.
Yeah.
So
Wait. You know what you may want to do, man? You may want to do a cooking show with you and your band playing music in the background as you might be occasionally at the stove mixing up something. That might be cool, right?
Stay tuned. This is already in the works.
What?
But more stuff. My wife just finished a cookbook we're trying to get out there, but the COVID slowed us down.
Yeah.
But that's exactly the vibe, and we recorded some music to go along with the cookbook.
Oh man, I love it. Yeah. Now, so what is your favorite album that you've produced so far?
Honestly, my favorite album that I produced is not one of mine.
Okay.
It's working along with an artist by the name of Caleb Wheeler Curtis.
Okay.
And we've been working for years, maybe 10 years now. And I started back my label called Imani Records.
Yes.
And I produce his projects. I'm not on all of them. I'm on maybe one of them. And he's just a great artist and a great composer. So it's kind of fun to take the pressure off. When you do your record, it's like, okay. I hope everybody likes it, even though I don't really get into that. But dealing with Caleb, it's really been great to just sit back and watch another artist work.
Got you. Okay. Because I think the first time I became familiar with you, and I'm probably going to mess this up, was you did an album or you did a tour called Captain Black.
No. Yep, you're correct.
Yeah. Now, how many years ago was that?
Well, the first record I called Captain Black was in 97, and that was dedicated to my father because he smoked Captain Black tobacco.
Yes.
And it was kind of just, remembering our trips to Quaker Bridge Mall to the tobacco store to get, Captain Black.
Yes.
But years later, maybe 10 years later, in 2009, I started a big band, and we called it Captain Black Big Band. And that's the one we've been doing, maybe however many, 10, 15 years now. We've nominated for 2 Grammys.
Awesome.
So that's that. And that's actually the band that Laura was playing in.
Okay, awesome.
Which is at Princeton. Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
I love it. Any shout outs that you want to give to anyone? Any final thoughts, man? Because I'm enjoying myself, and I could just rap to you for days, but I know you've got other things to do because this is your rest day, though, bro.
Oh man, no problem. Well, I mean, the key thing is just everybody keep knowing that they should get all out and get their daily dose of vitamin M, and that is music.
Yes.
And keep checking out Imani Records. You can find on Bandcamp. That's my record label with all the things that we've been doing on there. OrrinEvansMusic.com. You can find out what I'm doing there. Just come out and, create an option that you're not used to. And I mean, I've been doing that recently with my wife, and it's been fun. Meaning, you're like, oh, it's Friday night. Let's go to the movies. Let's Netflix and chill. All right, we got those 2. What else can we do? Is there a museum we haven't seen?
Yes. Is
there a comedy show? And I've been doing that more. Like, oh yeah, is there a play? What are the other options? What have we not investigated?
Yes.
So that's more of what I'm trying to check out and do.
I love it, man. So, again, I think the other thing is all of those places that you just mentioned as to where people can find your music. When you do your bio and headshot, just drop that in your bio, so we'll make sure that when we release this podcast, people can follow along with you. Now, where are you on social media? YouTube?
Yep. Now I'm on there. On YouTube, it's under Imani Records.
Yes.
On Facebook, it's just my name, Orrin Evans, Orrin.
Yes.
Evans. And now the difference is on Instagram, it's under Piano 88. But you could say my name too. But it's spelled PEEANO 88.
Got you.
So,
Brother Orrin, This has been fantastic, man. This has certainly been a episode worth its weight because we've been playing phone tag, as you said. Let's just call it a year and leave it at that. But man, let's do that. This is a pleasure, man, and I want to wish you nothing but success. Have you been in touch with Dr. Trinice?
Yeah, we actually talked. I was texting her the same time I was texting you 2 weeks ago. Good.
Yeah. So listen, I want to get you guys on a podcast together. When you guys get together to do something musically, right? I hope to be there because I like to have my equipment there to kind of interview some of the responses. Because I mean, you guys would be dynamic together, man. Wow.
Oh man, definitely. Wow. We'd love to.
Yeah, you might make me discover some of my hidden artistic talents.
There you go.
Brother Orrin, I want to wish you nothing but success, peace, and blessings, brother. Please always keep me in mind when we do the platform and coming back to the platform. So anything that we can do on the Enclave here, please don't hesitate, man. We want to be your source. Appreciate it, man. Right? Appreciate it. Great talking to you. You as well. Talk to you soon, man. Thanks. All right, man. Peace. Bye-bye. That concludes another episode of The Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. We hope you found this episode informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, please call 609-731-9311 or email kevin@minding-our-business.com. We look forward to joining us for our next one. Until next time.